Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
The act of transacting within or between groups, as carrying on commercial activities. He has always been honest as his dealings with me. Method or manner of conduct in relation to others. Honest dealing. The act of transacting within or between groups, as carrying on commercial activities. He has always been honest as his dealings with me. Mutual dealings or connections or communications among persons or groups. Social or verbal interchange, usually followed by with. The act of transacting within or between groups, as carrying on commercial activities. No transactions are possible without him. Action taken by a group of people. The management of someone or something. The handling of prisoners. The action of touching with the hands, or the skillful use of the hands, or by the use of mechanical means. Manual, or mechanical, carrying or moving or delivering or working with something. The management of someone or something. The treatment of water sewage. An extended communication, often interactive, dealing with some particular topic. His treatment of the race question is badly biased. Care provided to improve a situation, especially medical procedures or applications that are intended to relieve illness or injury. A manner of dealing with something artistically. His treatment of space borrows from Italian architecture. The United States federal department that promotes and administers domestic and foreign trade, including management of the Census and the Patent Office, created in 1913. Transactions, sales and purchases, having the objective of supplying commodities, goods and services. Social exchange, especially of opinions, attitudes, etc. Transactions, sales and purchases, having the objective of supplying commodities, goods and services. An agreement between parties, usually arrived at after discussion, fixing obligations of each. He rose to prominence through a series of shady deals. Wood that is easy to saw, from conifers such as pine or fir. Take into consideration for exemplifying purposes. Succeed in doing, achieving, or producing, something, with the limited or inadequate means available. Often followed by, of, a large number or amount or extent. A deal of trouble. Direct the course of, manage or control. A particular instance of buying or selling. It was a package deal. Give out as one's portion or share. Act on verbally or in some form of artistic expression. This book deals with incest. Do business. Offer for sale as for one's livelihood. She deals in gold. Administer or bestow, as in small portions. Deal a blow to someone. The cards held in a card game by a given player at any given time. Be in charge of, act on, or dispose of. I can deal with this crew of workers. A plank of softwood, fir or pine board. Behave in a certain way towards others. He deals fairly with his employees. Distribute cards to the players in a game. Who's dealing? Give, a specific card, to a player. He dealt me the queen of spades. Sell. Deal hashish. Take action with respect to someone or something. How are we going to deal with this problem? The act of apportioning or distributing something. The captain was entrusted with the deal of provisions. The act of distributing playing cards. The deal was passed around the table clockwise. The type of treatment received, especially as the result of an agreement. He got a good deal on his car. A transaction in the stock market at a price below the price of the preceding transaction. Exchange or replace with another, usually of the same kind or category. The act of changing one thing for another thing. Adam was promised immortality in exchange for his disobedience. Give to, and receive from, one another. Put in the place of another. Switch seemingly equivalent items. Reciprocal transfer of equivalent sums of money, especially the currencies of different countries. Exchange a penalty for a less severe one. A workplace that serves as a telecommunications facility where lines from telephones can be connected together to permit communication. The act of putting one thing or person in the place of another. Sports. An unbroken sequence of several successive strokes. Change over, change around, as to a new order or sequence. A mutual expression of views, especially an unpleasant one. They had a bitter exchange. A workplace for buying and selling, open only to members. Chemical process in which one atom or ion or group changes places with another. Chess, gaining, or losing, a rook in return for a knight or bishop. Black lost the exchange. Chess, the capture by both players, usually on consecutive moves, of pieces of equal value. The endgame began after the exchange of queens. Hand over one and receive another, approximately equivalent. Exchange prisoners. The act of giving something in return for something received. Deductible losses on sales or exchanges of property are allowable. Transactions, sales and purchases, having the objective of supplying commodities, goods and services. An economic system, Europe in 18th century, to increase a nation's wealth by government regulation of all of the nation's commercial interests. Financial transactions at a brokerage, having to do with the execution of trades and keeping customer records. The act of paying for the use of something, as an apartment or house or car. Property that is leased or rented out or let. Available to rent or lease. A rental car. Of or relating to rent. Rental agreement. The act of paying for the use of something, as an apartment or house or car. Engage in the trade of. An equal exchange. Steady winds blowing from east to west above and below the equator. They rode the trade winds going west. People who perform a particular kind of skilled work. As they say in the trade. The business given to a commercial establishment by its customers. A particular instance of buying or selling. I had no further trade with him. Turn in as payment or part payment for a purchase. Trade in an old car for a new one. Exchange or give something in exchange for. Do business. Offer for sale as for one's livelihood. The skilled practice of a practical occupation. He learned his trade as an apprentice. Be traded at a certain price or under certain conditions. The stock traded around $20 a share. The commercial exchange, buying and selling on domestic or international markets, of goods and services. Venice was an important center of trade with the East. Financial transactions at a brokerage, having to do with the execution of trades and keeping customer records. Transfer from one place or period to another. Transfer somebody to a different position or location of work. The act of moving something from one location to another. Application of a skill learned in one situation to a different but similar situation. Move around. Transfer the packet from his trouser pockets to a pocket in his jacket. Transferring ownership. Change from one vehicle or transportation line to another. The act of transferring something from one form to another. The transfer of the music from record to tape suppressed much of the background noise. Someone who transfers or is transferred from one position to another. The best student was a transfer from LSU. Send from one person or place to another. Lift and reset in another soil or situation. Shift the position or location of, as for business, legal, educational, or military purposes. A ticket that allows a passenger to change conveyances. Cause to change ownership. I transferred my stock holdings to my children. Move from one place to another. Transfer the data. Transferring ownership. The act of transferring something from one form to another. Psychoanalysis. The process whereby emotions are passed on or displaced from one person to another. During psychoanalysis, the displacement of feelings toward others, usually the parents, is onto the analyst. A transaction in the stock market at a price above the price of the preceding transaction. The appropriation of ideas or words, etc., from another source. The borrowing of ancient motifs was very apparent. Obtaining funds from a lender. A particular instance of buying or selling. He's a master of the business deal. Matters of personal concern. Get his affairs in order. Transactions of professional or public interest. News of current affairs. The transaction in 1867 in which the United States Secretary of State William Henry Seward purchased Alaska from Russia.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.